This is the printing instructions and assembly instructions for the Ultimate Gridfinity Razor Blade Disposal Bin. This is a little bit unique in the fact that we're going to 3D print. We're going to then 3D print a second print, pause it, and place the first print inside, and use the power of our printer to fuse it all together into one piece. So I'm starting here in Fusion 360. Please take note, I'm using the non-commercial hobby license. This file is in no way intended for commercial use and should be available on printables, and you can see the license restrictions there as well. So the reason I'm starting here is just to show you, I have two components here, and if I turn on the inspection and go to display color component colors, it's going to color them differently, showing you these are indeed two separate components. If I put on a section analysis, you should be able to see, if I zoom in here, there are two separate components, and if you zoom very close, you can see there's a tiny gap between them to account for printer tolerances. And the idea is we're going to print this top half, the blue portion here. We're going to print that first, set it aside, and then we'll print the purple box. We'll print all the way up until just before it prints this little ridge right here. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Turn my section analysis back on. I have it over here. So this line right here, this represents where that top ridge is going to print. We're going to pause the print right before that, insert this blue component, and then let the printer print. As this plastic melts on this ridge, it's going to melt into the unit here and make it seem as though it's a single print. The reason we're doing this is twofold. One, we want to have a nice surface finish on the top because it's going to make the text really stand out and just look nicer. But this has a Gridfinity base at the bottom, and you could technically print this whole thing upside down with no stacking ridge, but then you lose the ability to stack them, and the surface finish is not going to be super great. It might not fit flat in your Gridfinity bases. Secondly, we have this internal geometry here, you can see in the section analysis view, that prevents razor blades from coming out. It's not perfect, but imagine this was turned upside down. Pardon me, I've got a space mouse I'm using to rotate this. It's not cooperating. Imagine if this raised area was not here. If you turn this upside down, the razor blades would be flat on the bottom, and you could conceivably shake it enough to where one would fall out. And just imagine if you've got a small child who happens to get hold of this box and were to shake it around, right? Something bad could happen. This raised section here makes it very unlikely that a razor blade could align itself into this slot organically and fall out. So that's the reason for printing it the way we are. Now let's move on to the actual printing. Let's minimize Fusion. The STL that you download from printables should have 3 files. There's the body, which is that purple part we just looked at, and then the top part, which is the blue component. I have the one with the words danger-sharp, which of course is in English. If you want to use it, that's great. If you want to have a different text or use a different language, I have additional file here. It's the same as the other component, but it has no words. And I can show you in the slicer how you can add your own text to this. I'm using Prusa Slicer. If you're using another slicer, you'll have to consult someone else on how to add those words and cut those out as a negative volume. So that being said, let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to print the top. If you want to choose the top with the text, great. I'm going to work with the one with no text just so I can show you how to add the text to it. So we'll open this up into Prusa Slicer. And because I exported these from Fusion, it's going to maintain the orientation. So it's probably going to show up like this, which is not a proper way to print it. So the first thing I'm going to do is select the component. And I'm going to click this icon here, place on face. I'm going to choose this top face. And that should orient our part to print flat on the print bed. So it'll give you a nice surface finish. Now to add the text, I'll simply rotate to the bottom. So I'm looking through the build plate. And I will click the component to select it. I can right click and say add negative volume. And I will choose text. Your text may be upside down or the wrong orientation. If you grab this block here, you can rotate it. And something that I found not intuitive about Prusa Slicer, but once I did figure it out, it's actually quite intuitive. This sort of compass that you can rotate things around, not just the text, but in multiple areas of Prusa. If your cursor is out here on this ring or somewhere else, it's going to be sort of a free form. You can put whatever angle you want. And it's hard to snap it to, 45 degrees or 90 degrees or 180. But if you move your cursor inside, it will snap to these, almost like a detent. It snaps these little lines here. So that's a good way to make sure that it is snapped properly. All right, once we have that, we can just grab it and slide it around wherever we'd like. We'll stick it here for now. And then we can choose our text. You can just say sharp, for example. We'll put 2 exclamation point there just for fun. Then we can select that text. And if you want to choose a different font, you can do that. I'm going to choose impact. And if it's not positioned quite right, you can move it wherever you would like it. And that's it. We can close this panel and let me move my face out of the way. 1 second. Let's put me over here. And now we can click the Slice Now button. And you see we now have this negative volume cut out in our slicer. I should mention too, I forgot to that when we do this text operation, you want to make sure it is set to cut, and you want to cut in 1 millimeter. You can experiment with other depths, but I find 1 millimeter is perfect. It provides a nice shadow line. And it's not so deep that it's going to potentially bust through to the other side of the component. So, all right, now if you want to do a single color print, you can send those directly to your printer. If you want to add a color change, we can do that. So let me move my face once again over here. We'll go to the print setting. We'll go to filament. And let's just say this is going to be white filament. We'll choose something close to white. Close this. That's just so we can see the color differences. We'll go back to the platter. We'll click Slice Now. And then what you're going to want to do is grab this slider up here, this layer slider. And you're going to go down until just before the background of the text is printed. So as soon as you can see the print bed through the top, that's where you want to add a color change. So you can right click this icon here and say add color change. And we'll go ahead and continue this up and we'll click Slice Now. and that should allow for your printer to pause once it gets to that. In this case, it's layer. That layer, I don't know. There's 17 millimeters. I'm not sure if 18 is the layer number. I think it is. And then once you do the filament change, it'll continue to print. Okay, so this is basically the printing instructions for the top. You're going to print this, and then we'll jump back into how we're going to slice up the body file, because it's going to be a little different as well. Okay, so we're back here at our files. We're going to grab the body. And this one, we're also going to have to do a little slicing magic here. But it'll be a little bit different than a color change. So you'll grab your STL here. It should be it should automatically be oriented to print with the Gridfinity base on the print bed. That's correct. And we're going to click slice. You can of course change your quality and your infill settings. I tend to leave the 20 millimeter quality default. I think is fine. We'll slice now. And you'll see this blue section here is overhang perimeters. And you'll definitely see one here. And this is important because this is where we want to add some custom G code. So we're going to grab our layer slider here. And we're going to slide down until just below that layer that has the overhang. And we're going to right click, and this time instead of choosing a color change, we're going to click the add custom G code. So I'm going to go ahead and paste this in, and I'm not sure why I should have this black text, but I'll highlight it just so you can see. Everything that is after the semicolon is considered a comment in G code. But just to talk about what this does, this first line will move the printer. It'll basically take the print head and move it over to the left, and it will bring the print bed forward so that we can actually access the print. And then it performs a pause, and then the M105 is a continue. So we can paste this in, click OK. We'll have to click slice now once again. And now this is ready to send to your printer. And we will pick this video back up with the actual printed pieces. And I'll show you how this assembly goes together and the final result. Okay, so you can see in the bottom of the screen, I have my top already printed and it's just waiting to be inserted. And right now my printer is executing my custom G code. It's, we say sticking out the tongue. It's bringing the bed forward and moving the print head to the left so we can insert the piece. You see I'm using some super glue here. I wasn't sure of my tolerances, and I was afraid if it was too much of a gap there, it might still rattle. I did not need this, so you can try it if you'd like, but I don't think that it's at all necessary. So, but I did apply some glue, and now I'm just placing the top in there, and it's such a satisfying fit. I can't stress it enough. It's really fun. So now the top of that pre-printed component is now completely level with the layer, and you see I have Octoprint running the background just to show you how I can continue the print from here. Now we're going to do some close-up footage here. Sorry, my camera work is not the greatest, but you can see now the printer is starting to print that overhang, or what would have been an overhang if our inserted top wasn't here. And you'll see a little string to the right, and you'll see I'll grab that with the tweezers in a moment. So again, poor camera work. But basically it's printing that ridge around there, and it's going to lock it in. And yeah, you see I grabbed that with tweezers. That often happens when you pause a print. A little bit of filament leaks out, and you can see the gap right here on the right. Again, my printer's so dirty. Apologize for that. You see with that pass, it sort of fused those two pieces together, and it's going to start building layers on top of that. And this is the final product. And you can see we can add our razor blades in there, and in a moment I'll shake it around and things stay in. So hopefully this explains how you put this together. And I'm telling you, once you have this in your hand, it feels like it's one piece. It doesn't feel like it's two pieces added together. So hope you enjoy. Thanks.